Servus YouTube! As I promised last time, we will go through the main running parties at the 2018 Hungarian elections. Now, why would that be of any interest for you? Because in the last couple of years, you see the obvious rise of national populism all around the world, and Hungary became a prominent member or representative of that. Now, is that true? Well, watch the video and you'll see yourself. First of all, I couldn't compress this topic into one video, so please check the link down in the description for the second part and watch that video too. Hungary has only been a democratic country for over some 27 years and definitely is not yet used to the benefits democracy can offer. It's going to be only our 8th free election, and so far that's not a very mature system. With a population of about 9.5 million, there are roughly 8.2 million who are eligible to vote. It is hard to say how many will vote at the end, but it's probably about 5 million. So the very basics. According to the election law from 2011, we elect 199 representatives in a single round election. The numbers of percentages I'm going to mention in connection with these parties are their standings at the popularity polls. Now, these standings are also sort of predictions of how much of the total votes they're going to receive. A party needs at least 5% to get into the parliament. Two parties running together will need 10% and 3 or plus party coalitions 15%. Since the last elections in 2014, it is also a lot simpler to form a party, since a citizen can sign infinite amount of petitions to have a candidate added to the ballot. This will result in crazy amounts of small fake parties, and it is already a problem now. This is a very simplified explanation, so if you want to dig deeper, once again, please check my recommendations in the description section below. Before watching this video, I also suggest you to check out the one where I talk about the 1989 system change, and it will make this one easier to understand. You know where to find the link. Right now, FIDESZ and KDNP, two parties, are ruling this country, and others, mainly from the very fractured left wing, will try to compete. So, let's check out them parties. Number 1, FIDESZ-KDNP. I should talk about two parties here, since this is a coalition, but KDNP, the Christian Democratic People's Party, although historically one of the oldest ones, it is barely an existing one today, and despite them saying that the sophisticated soul should say FIDESZ-KDNP, I will only talk about FIDESZ because KDNP doesn't exist. Once a system-changing anti-communist, anti-Soviet voice, FIDESZ grew to be the biggest party of Hungary. Formed in 1988, it was a radical, liberal and alternative, their words, group of young university students. Their leader was and is Viktor Orbán, already 3 times Prime Minister of Hungary. On the first elections in 1990, FIDESZ, a young liberal party, earned 5.4% of the votes. In a separate video, I will talk about their whole shift from centralist liberalism to right-wing, conservative, Christian politics, but right now what is important that FIDESZ in 1994 suffered a humiliating defeat, and so they rewired their ideologies just to gain more votes after that. From 1994 on, they called themselves the Hungarian Civic Association, and with this they declared to be the continuation of the political tradition of the old right-wing conservatives of Hungary. The former liberals today are openly and hardly heavily working on establishing an illiberal democracy, with examples taken from Russia and Turkey. They were on power first from 1998 to 2002 in a 3-party coalition. Then in 2010, after 8 years of horrible socialist governing, they won again, but now with a majority of 133 representatives, and started to recreate the constitution, election law and many other major elements of the political judicial system. They won again in 2014 with 45.4%, almost 20% less than before, and according to their changes in the election law, this provided them a 2/3 majority once again, gaining a vast amount of criticism from all sides of Hungary and also from abroad. So if they win again in 2018, this is going to be their 3rd cabinet in a row and their 4th altogether. They lost the 2/3 ever since in midterm elections, but they are still very powerful. Their communication heavily relies on fighting for the Christian values and the so-called traditional family structures. They are being criticized mostly for their very successful and aggressive technique to coordinate activists, politically dividing the nation, and their deep affiliation in huge, systematic, corrupt deals. Orbán is viewed as the representative of far-right already not only in liberal but even in right-wing international press. He is the new evil for the lefties of the world, and it is a new trend to compare him to dictators. Therefore, Fidesz is mostly labeled as national conservative and right-wing populist, with friends no others than Vladimir Putin, Nigel, Mr. Brexit Farage, Mr. Donald Trump, Recep Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey, the true dictator, and Silvio Berlusconi. Yes, Silvio Berlusconi. I mean, Silvio Berlusconi. And yet again another picture of Silvio Berlusconi. What a bunch. It's a small surprise that Orbán became an EU skeptic person with these gentlemen around. Their program is, well, they don't really have one. Nor in 2014 or nor this year have they published a program but a mere bunch of cliches. They simply don't need to, since they are still between 45 to 54% at the popularity polls, though almost everyone is concerned they are not going to win the two-thirds this year. Still, if we want to see what they represent, they're pragmatic protectionist nationalists who every half a year decide on whom the whole country should be afraid of and fight against. Just a few threats from the last couple of years. First you had the socialists before 2010 and also Putin. Then Ferenc Gyurcsány, the former PM. Then Norwegian foundations. Then Bajnai Gordon, another former PM of Hungary. NGOs, the EU, George Soros and his mighty migrants, and that could be a great rock band name. And now finally, and I'm not joking, we're lined up against the UN, the United Nations. And by the way, the migrants we're fighting against are not even in this country. It is the classic method of keep your people in fear so they would never question that they need you to protect them. Their orientations and ideologies easily change with the wind, as we could have seen it in the past. It is most likely that Fidesz and Viktor Orbán is going to win this year too, but there are other people who also want to trick this system. P.S. Fidesz means Fiatal Demokraták Szövetsége, Alliance of Young Democrats, but they never say Young Democrats anymore. It's just like when, you know, MTV stopped being the music television but kept the name. Number 2. Jobbik. Starting as a branch of a far-right ultranationalist party called MIEP in 2003, Jobbik today is the second most popular party. Their full name is Jobbik Magyarországért Mozgalom, meaning Movement for a Better Hungary. Being at the margin of politics for long years, representing extremely radical, sometimes even illegal or at least frightening ideas, Jobbik is the big surprise of the last 8 years. They found a way to moderate their views, moving closer to the position that Fidesz left empty when they moved to the far right. So we can simplify it the way that they're swapped places. The party's leader, Vona Gábor, from an infamous neo-Nazi, turned into a moderate conservative, winning the respect even of those disappointed lefties who scourged him for years so heavily before. He said, "I already stepped out of the old coordinate system, and that Jobbik also wants to surpass the old misunderstandings of our parents and grandparents. Many are afraid that this is just a temporary mask, and when winning power they will change back to the same segregating dangerous Nazis." Not likely in my opinion, but we've seen stuff before in this country, and also shouldn't forget that, for example, the party's vice president is still László Toroczkai, a real far-right nationalist tough guy with a troubled past. But this is the same party whose former vice president and founder, Csanád Szegedi, a vivid anti-Semitist, discovered his Jewish roots sometimes around 2012, left the party, turned to Orthodox Judaism, and became a Kabbalah artist. You don't want to believe me? Well, watch the documentary about it. Its telling title is Keep Quiet, and you can find the link to its trailer in the description below. That's not a regular film. The old voters want the radical voice back. The new ones, many of them landing here from the left, are here because of the moderation. So despite the approximately 20% support for Jobbik, they dance on pretty thin ice. They have some similarities with Fidesz, such as supporting Christian values and a fence on the southern border to keep the migrants out of the country. On the other hand, Vona talked positively about Budapest Pride, the gay parade of Budapest, and sent his good regards, his best wishes for Hungarian Jews on Hanukkah, just to confuse us all a bit more. They are open to coalitions, especially with LMP, of whom we are going to talk about soon. Jobbik has a good chance to win a good amount of the seats at the parliament. Lately, a lot of my lefty friends say, seriously, I will even vote Jobbik at the end. Their becoming a People's Party proved to be a smart and successful maneuver. Number 3, MSZP-Párbeszéd. Now this is a very confusing one. MSZP goes for Magyar Szocialista Párt, and they are the successors to the old Communist Party before the system change. I told you to watch the video and you still have the chance. But despite the fact that most of the party members are too young for having been involved in politics before 1990, Jobbik and FIDESZ simply labeled them as no more than just the leftovers of communism. They ruled from 94 to 98, then again from 2002 to 2010, and were a complete disaster the second time. In 2006, Prime Minister Ferenc Gyurcsány, just 1 month after they have won the election, had a long speech on a party congress. In this he talked about how politics should be more honest, how they haven't done everything they could for the people, and listen now, how they have been lying in their campaign day and night over and over. Sentences to be quoted in politics and in pop culture for years and even today. He also uses pretty bad language on the tape. Now remember, this is a closed party congress, so someone from the party, many say insiders from FIDESZ, leaked the tape and riots began on the streets of Budapest demanding his resignation. He did not resign. Well, he should have. This is when, right after winning the election, their decay has started already. Soon their coalition partner, one of the first parties of modern Hungarian democracy, SDS, left the government and disappeared from politics forever. MSZP was real down. Finally, way too late, Gyurcsány resigned, angry and hurt, believing he was right, leaving the political left of Hungary in ruins and broken into tiny pieces. This was crucial in the new rise of FIDESZ. Huge corruption, horrible economic policies, and the governing as minority, they worked hard, real hard for losing so bad after 8 years. Ever since, Ferenc Gyurcsány is the ultimate villain for a good portion of this country, especially the everlasting righties. He left the party and created a new one. We will talk about them as well because they are running for the elections too. MSZP, as a big survivor of the last 28 years, managed to get back from 4 to 8% within a year. Now they are between around 11 to 14%. How? They merged with a pretty new party, which was a movement before, called Párbeszéd, which means conversation, as for between people of the country. Their leader is a fairly popular guy, the 42-year-old Gergely Karácsony. He's a left centralist, liberal green politician, political scientist, and the mayor of one of Budapest's largest districts. He is running for the prime minister's seat on behalf of both parties. Many of their political opposers, or even George Soros, liberal financial speculant and part-time villain, stated that MSZP is nothing else just a mistress of FIDESZ, fracturing the opposition. I mean, in the end they know each other for quite a long time, so I'm sure that they help here and there. The MSZP-Párbeszéd coalition will have seats in the parliament for sure. However, since MSZP's values are at least vague, the program is largely dominated by Karácsony, and MSZP is willing to do anything he suggests just to avoid losing votes. I would say somewhere around left-central with Karácsony's idea of social democracy and with some populist voices lately. So these are the 3 first runners. Stay tuned and we will continue with the rest of them.